Katerina Andronis, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
You were recently made chair, the first, in fact, female chair of HISA. What's the great appeal?
Well, I feel very honoured to be the chair. The appeal is because I love informatics and health information, and I'm very passionate about it. You do not do this type of job if you don't care about health information and to help the clinicians do a very tough job, and if we can help them in a small way, I think then that's brilliant.
Just briefly summarise your career for me. I know you've had a lot of time as a CIO in particular.
I've been in health IT for over 30 years. I started off as a software developer designing systems for hospitals and laboratories, and also went into CIO in private and public hospitals, and joined Deloitte 2 years ago in their health life science practice. I've had a great journey, a bit of a roller coaster ride. Wouldn't have changed it for the world. And my biggest joy is helping people and mentoring lots of people to go into health information. I think it's quite important.
So you've actually seen quite a big technology transformation. How have you seen that change people's lives?
We are very fortunate in Australia. We've got really good technology in our health space. We've got some amazing adopters. Some clinicians have taken technology and grabbed it with both hands and use it very effectively. We've had other technologies has been a bit of a burden for people, so I've watched the journey of the change process, and I think our job as informaticians is to help people transition into that change and adopt it in a really positive way. And the evolution of iPads and iPhone has really changed the way we do health in the last few years because of its mobility. So the key word is mobility, and I think that's exciting for the future.
Health informatics, and informatics in particular, is quite a specialised or unique discipline. How do you see that contributing to the broader e-health agenda?
All clinical staff use technology on a daily basis. We're putting a label to it, and we need to help them use it in the most efficient and most effective way. We need to make sure that it's not a burden to them, and the what's in it for me, from a clinician's point of view, is absolute paramount to ensure that we meet that requirement for those clinicians.
So is the challenge there that in many cases we just get focused on making it work and we forget the usability aspect?
We should not get caught up in the technology. We need to get caught up in what the clinician needs to use it for. Our job as informaticians is to make sure that we design or enable systems around their jobs or their functions. If we can do that really well, we can have a wonderful marriage between technology and the clinicians using it.
The data standard side of things is obviously a big issue, particularly right now in the context of the PCEHR. What's your view on the best way of getting the right stakeholder engagement to, from a standards definitions perspective, right through to application?
Obviously, stakeholder engagement is really important, and getting the people that use the technology to be part of that stakeholder group. And they are doing a pretty good job, and getting involved, all the clinicians from your nursing to your allied health to your clinical staff. I think the key to that is to get people who have to use that technology a part of the decision makers. Mm-hmm. If we don't have those people who use the technology, then we will have some challenges. They are getting there, and it is exciting, and I know it will be a great success. I feel very positive about the future.
Just on that, I think when you talk about getting people's buy-in, that actually requires a particular project management and change management discipline, doesn't it?
Yes.
How do you think, if you can just picture a very large hospital, do you have somebody who is essentially, engaged in the process of working with people in that way? How do you do it? I
work with a lot of people in that space, and you have some passionate clinicians who are really want that, and they understand technology and they understand the clinical space. Those are the key people that you need to get on board to make it happen, because they are the facilitators and the conduits between the clinical space and the technology. And we have some pretty amazing people in Australia and also in the different health sectors who are those champions. And finding those champions sometimes can be hard, but they are out there and I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of them, and we need to help them shine, and we need to support them. HISA is an association that supports that. Lots of organisations also do that.
So just on that, what's your personal and I guess corporate vision for HISA?
It is to have health informatics in the forefront in the industry as well, not just at our conferences, that our health, our acute sector, our community sector, our aged care sector, that it is an important part of someone's professional development. It's not just a must-have, it is like any qualification, it is part of who you are. We use technology on a daily basis. We need to help people adopt it and be part of their workflow processes, not as a must-have or you have to do it.
It's been interesting over the last couple of years to see the government increase its, if you like, dedication and the resources flowing towards the e-health agenda. There's an interesting balance between the politics and the industry side of things to achieve change. I'm interested to hear your views on how to get that balance right.
I'm excited that the government has wanting to put change on the table, because in my career, change has always been a challenge for all organisations. So I'm excited and delighted that they are getting really great organisations to enable that. And we also have some really key private and public organisations in the health sector who are brave enough to go down that path. Change is always scary, and some of the organisations in Australia who are actually implementing these capabilities, I admire them, and I'm really wishing and desperate for them to succeed, because it's very good for us. I believe we need to be like the banking and the airline industry, technology is just a normal part of life, rather than it being a burden. From
a global perspective, you mentioned how excited you are about the current state of e-health. How would you rate us or compare us to other nations?
Well, we are fantastic in some areas and maybe not so great in others. In Australia, everybody's in awe of how our GP community has got technology. I'm excited because a GP can share clinical information and results between each other and between the health sectors. In the acute sector, we are doing some pretty wonderful things in every state. There are pockets of excellence, and we've got other areas that we need to improve in some areas. It will eventuate. I think it's the introduction of mobile technology like iPad is sort of causing that speed of clinical staff wanting to have access to information in a mobile sense. So all this is good. We're about on a sort of in a new curve of excitement, and in the clinical space, or the young, I sound like an old woman, the young ones coming through university who want the mobility technology.
Well, they just expect it, don't they?
They want it, they expect it. They want information quickly, they want it now, they don't want to have to wait for it. And we also have to adopt the what's in it for me, and we have to be aware of our, like I said, our nursing community, which is the average age of 45. We have to prepare for that and give the clinicians good tools so they can make informed decisions for better patient care. Again, we're here for the patient. That's the reason for our existence.
Let's just assume for a moment that the PCEHR arrives and there's no major problems and we start getting consumer adoption. What kind of pressure do you think that will start forcing on the industry to, the pockets of the industry that are struggling with change? Do you see that being a positive force for making e-health a wider reality?
I will take it as a positive force, because they will have to adopt and implement it, and it'll become a wave like the banking industry did and the airline industry when we as consumers didn't want it, but now we can't live without it. I think we will get at a time where it will be like that, where we will want to have access to our information so our clinical folk can make informed decisions. It will happen.
Just with your Deloitte hat on, you mentioned to me that you're excited by the change that you can affect. What are your personal goals in that role?
I'm excited because we as Deloitte can go into organisation and understand the clinical point of view and the technology point of view, and we're in the middle. One thing that Deloitte does really well, and one of the reasons why I joined Deloitte, is that they do strategies extremely well. And we have some pretty amazing folk who work in this space. A lot of clinical staff who are actually work in Deloitte, and we can talk the language of the clinical staff and the politicians and the finance people. So we have a range of people that can take organisations on that journey, and we have a lot of collective knowledge. I think about at least 100 years knowledge in a set of group of people that I'm working on some projects at the moment. And what I love about it is we can help make positive change, and I am about positive change.
Well, all the best of luck for your conversations in the industry and your role here at Deloitte and also at HISA.
Thank you very much.